Good morning from beautiful Grace Hall in Destin, Florida. This is Rod Martin, and we have breaking news on the Israel-Iran war and also on the China-U.S. trade war. So much is happening that I just had to make a video. I don't have time to get all this written. So here's your quick briefing, and we'll hit all the high points. First off, Israel attacked Iran last night early morning their time. Operation Rising Lion, early morning strikes involving 200 Israeli fighter jets, dropping over 330 munitions on about 100 Iranian targets, including the Natanz uranium enrichment complex. This is a really big deal. This is the crux of the matter. The heavy water and plutonium related facilities at Arak and Kandab, the Tabriz Nuclear Research Center, other sites in Isfahan and Tehran, and of course, lots of Iranian leadership. Just as we've seen with Hamas and Hezbollah, we're now seeing the Israelis go after senior Iranian leaders. And Donald Trump made a really important point about this. He said, all the hardliners are now dead. The people who wanted peace are still alive. Now, I doubt very much that all of the hardliners are dead, but still, the point is sound. Israel knows exactly who it's going after. This was a decapitation strike. It is ongoing. We're going to have more reports over the next few days. The Israelis are dead serious. And you'll see actually down below this video, Benjamin Netanyahu's speech to the world about all of this, in which he makes the absolutely solid point. There is no way that this generation of Israeli leadership should make the same mistake that the Jewish leaders in the 1920s and 30s made, allowing 1/3 of the entire global Jewish population to be annihilated by Adolf Hitler. These Islamists in Tehran, a country, by the way, that was Israel's friend until 1979, declared war on the Israeli state in 1979, incidentally declared war on us too. They have intermittently pursued that war against the United States. They have daily pursued it against Israel, not only directly, such as in their attack on Israel last fall with over 300 potentially nuclear capable ballistic missiles, but also through proxies such as Hamas, Hezbollah, obviously the Syrian regime under Assad, and of course the Houthis attacking maritime shipping in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. This is absolutely unacceptable. Iran is the world's top sponsor of terrorism. There is no competition for the title, and they have enough fissile material to be able to make 15 bombs, we now learn, within days, if not weeks. Would they fit one of those nukes to one of those ballistic missiles they keep firing at Israel? Absolutely. Absolutely. And regardless of whether they would or they wouldn't, it's simply unacceptable to allow nuclear weapons to a state that daily calls Israel the little Satan, the United States the great Satan, and promises the annihilation of both. So, Trump has been very urgent in his negotiations on this for the past several months. You understand why. Clearly, too much highly enriched uranium. They had enriched apparently to about 60%. It's a matter of days, maybe weeks, but probably days to get that up to weapons grade. And Trump was very clear. My goodness, you've got 60 days to make a deal. We'll make you rich, or we'll make you or we'll annihilate you. I mean, it's one or the other. There was no way that this war, and again, we've been in a state of war for 46 years, thanks to the Iranians. We are not going to allow them to have a nuclear weapon. So Trump has been clear about that. He gave them 60 days to negotiate a peace deal that was completely reasonable. And on day 61, Israel unleashed hell. Now, I just got to tell you, October 7 is the direct result of Iran trying to disrupt a peace agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. That's a fact. October 7th was proportionately to our experience the same as 16 or 20 9/11s. Israel's tiny. Israel's the size of New Jersey. Half of that is a desert. They've only got 9 million people. We've got 340 million. They lost 1,200 people on October 7th, and that is the equivalent, proportionately, of all of America's dead in the Vietnam War. This is not nothing. And the response of Israel to that has been to roll up the Iranian Empire with our help. They have decapitated Hamas. They have eliminated Hezbollah. They have wiped the Assad regime off the map. And now we're actually in peace talks with Syria and lifting sanctions. So that's an entirely new world. And of course, Donald Trump made the Houthis cry uncle. So now we're back to the Iranian homeland where they are building nuclear weapons to threaten the entire neighborhood, but certainly absolute destruction of Israel. And that's simply not going to be allowed. Once again, the Iranian response was to fire off about 100 drones so far. Israel shot most of them down. When they fired off the 300 ballistic missiles last fall, Israel, with American help, shot them all down. The Iranians clearly have no remaining air defenses after the Israeli strikes in October of last year, or the strikes today wouldn't have been successful. Clearly, this is a war that Israel can finish. And the Iranians are telling us that they're holding the United States responsible. Well, big mistake, because if they attack American interests, Donald Trump is going to unleash those B-2 bombers at Diego Garcia. Donald Trump is going to drop bunker busters on their nuclear sites, and it will be a completely different picture. Now, pros and cons. The Arabs are going to be more impressed with Israel if they pull this off brilliantly. That's good for the Abraham Accords. On the other hand, the Arabs are going to be a lot less afraid of Iran if they're no longer a meaningful threat. That's probably bad for the Abraham Accords. There will be a significantly meaningful regional power reshuffle between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. You'll see that competition play out, especially in Syria. But on balance, this is a massive win for the world, just like eliminating Hitler was a massive win for the world, or the militarist Japanese regime was a huge plus for the world. And that's what we're seeing here. Finally, this really underlines the need for Golden Dome. Trump's Golden Dome plan is brilliant. It is field tested in Israel in the instances I just mentioned, and it's clearly time that America have a real missile defense. We must not allow ourselves to be vulnerable to drones, to hypersonic weapons, or to intercontinental ballistic missiles. Those days are over, and Trump is bringing them to a close. And that brings us to China, our main nuclear threat here in the US. So all I can say is, see, I told you so. I told you the Chinese needed the United States more than the United States needs them. Well, here are the numbers, folks. The framework agreed to, and that's been confirmed now by Beijing as well as Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick. The deal agreed to allows the U.S. to charge 55% tariffs on China. China only gets to charge 10% tariffs to the United States. Do you really need to know more? This is a huge win. All of the media is trying to tell you that Trump blinked every time we turn around. Are you high? Donald Trump just pulled off what amounts to a surrender. And by the way, those US tariffs drop dramatically if China follows through on intellectual property protections, if China follows through on reducing the shipments of fentanyl and fentanyl precursors into the United States. They can, through good action, get to even, but they have to actually choose to be good actors, which I don't honestly think the communist Chinese regime is even capable of. In any case, this deal allows massively improved US access to Chinese markets. It allows the Chinese to continue sending students to American universities. You say, well, they're spies. Yeah, they are. The Chinese aren't going to stop spying either way, but the universities make money off those Chinese students, as does the US economy, and sometimes we get to poach their best and brightest. So that's not us really conceding anything. And of course, perhaps most importantly, China is already issuing rare earth permits to get those exports flowing again, guaranteeing magnet supply, and that buys us time to be able to diversify our supply chain away from China. We actually make enough or mine enough rare earths in the United States to supply 85% of the world. We just don't have any refining capacity because Jimmy Carter decided not to. And so that's got to be rebuilt, or we've got to rebuild it in Ukraine or Greenland or wherever. But Donald Trump is on this with a laser-like focus. Both capitals reaffirm the deal's framework. It's really, really remarkable. And to sum up, I said from the beginning on Fox Business, here, elsewhere, China needs us more than we need them. And the reason is very simple. They're an export driven economy. We're a consumption driven economy. They have to sell to be able to survive. They have to be able to export to avoid a depression. Meanwhile, we can do without them. We can diversify away. There might be some short term disruption, but so far, so good. And the truth of the matter is, they absolutely have to have our market to sell to. And we absolutely don't have to have their source of supply. This just proved my thesis. I'm sorry, 55% tariffs versus 10% tariffs. This is going to make the US Treasury a fortune, and it is going to bring about the full decoupling that we've been hoping for, while still giving China a path through good action to thrive and survive. But there's a difference. Thriving is not necessarily profiting so much that you can project power against Taiwan, against Siberia, against the United States in the Pacific. And this is Reagan's strategy all over again, to starve the Soviets for cash through collapsing oil prices in the mid 80s and running up a tremendous arms race at the same time that all of a sudden the Soviets had no means to win. That's what Trump, I'm confusing them at the moment. That's what Trump is doing here. He learned that lesson from Ronald Reagan. If we can stop feeding their military expansion, we can hold them back just enough to avoid a war. That's the bottom line. So again, it's our commerce, not chaos strategy that Trump enunciated so well in Riyadh. You do business with the United States, we all get rich together. There's no reason we couldn't have a Trump Tower in Pyongyang or Tehran. But if you will not do that, we will not tolerate your aggression anymore. Again, Donald Trump gave Iran 60 days, and on day 61, Israel unleashed hell. Global capitals are noticing. I guarantee you. They will take Trump's deadline seriously. They're going to perk up and take notice. And that's true whether you're talking about Brussels, Moscow, Beijing, doesn't matter. This isn't blinking as the media keeps pretending, and it just gets dumber and dumber. Again, 55% tariffs versus 10, and they agreed to it. This is make a deal or face your doom. And that is an America First world order. We can all prosper together, or America can prosper without you. That's true for Israel as well. And we're going to see meaningful movement in the right direction in the coming days.